The cosmos, just a second. Yes, just a second. Yes. So, according to Hesiod's theogony, which was composed around 8th century BCE, the cosmos began with chaos. So, but this chaos wasn't the disorder we associate this term with. Like, if we talk about chaos in modern sense of a chaos, it means disorder. But in Greek mythology, in Greek culture, the word chaos, it stands for a void, a yawning void or a gap, which you can simply understand as a vast emptiness that somehow contained the potential for all creation. So Hesiod has described chaos at verily at the first chaos came to be, but next wide bosomed earth, the ever sure foundations of all. So this chaos, as Greek in Greek mythology, it is not something disorderly, it is not something in way, but it is a gap. This gap, this void is has potential for creating further lives, for creating a unique creation. So this is a difference between the chaos which Greek mythology has reference to and what we understand in modern terms. So the Hesiod's poetic description, it presents chaos not as a destructive turmoil, but as a primordial potential, a concept that, interestingly, modern physicists might find surprisingly resonant with quantum theories of vacuum energy or the conditions before the Big Bang. So, from this state of chaos, the first primordial deities emerged through a process of spontaneous generation. So, unlike the deliberate creation by a conscious deity found in majority of religions, Greek cosmology presents an organic, almost evolutionary emergence of not only human beings but also of divine beings. So, in this line of divinity, first we have Gaia. Gaia stands for earth. So Gaia is not just a physical terrain, but it is a conscious divine entity, which you can simply understand as the universal mother. So Gaia wasn't simply soil and stone, but a living goddess embodying the principle of fertility and foundation. So for the Greeks, the planet itself was a conscious divine presence, an idea that finds curious parallels in contemporary environmental movements like the Gaia hypothesis or indigenous perspectives on Earth as a living system deserving of moral consideration. So, after Gaia came Tartarus. So, Tartarus is understood as a bottomless depths beneath the earth. And after Tartarus, we have Eros. So, Eros, it stands for the principle of attraction and generative power. So this primordial eros was quite different from the latter or the more Cupid like figure. This earlier eros represented the fundamental force of attraction that would allow creation to continue. So it could be understood as a kind of cosmic binding. So Eros was a cosmic binding agent similar to what physicists might call the fundamental forces. And then from this chaos emerged Erebus. Erebus stands for darkness, and Nyx. Nyx stands for night. So Nyx is particularly fascinating as it is one of the most powerful primordial deities. It is so formidable that even Zeus approached her with caution. And then Nyx produced Aether. Aether stands for upper air, and Hemera. Hemera stands for day through parthenogenesis. So, what is parthenogenesis? Parthenogenesis is asexual reproduction. So, whatever divine emergence took place, the divine emergence happened because of asexual reproduction, which demonstrates that how these early generations of deities weren't constrained by human biological patterns. And then further, meanwhile, Gaia independently produced Uranus. Uranus stands for sky, and then she also produced the mountains, the Pontus. Pontus stands for sea. So these births, they established a basic cosmic architecture, these structural elements of reality itself. So now we can see that how Greek perceived natural forces not as inanimate objects but as divine beings. And what was interesting, that these divine beings had agency and consciousness. And this was the beginning of, you can say, the primordial beginning, from the chaos to the first divinities. Next we have the cosmic marriage of Gaia and Uranus. So the cosmic cosmology, with this marriage, it transits, like it takes a transition from asexual generation to sexual reproduction. So when Gaia and her offspring Uranus, they became lovers, then the cosmic marriage idea it established. So in the cosmic marriage, the earth embraced the sky and produced the titans. So titans are the progeny of Gaia and Uranus, means the earth and the sky. And these titans are 12 powerful deities who represent a midpoint between the primordial abstractions and more a sort of anthropomorphic Olympian gods who would follow. So there was a transition from being absolutely divine to being semi-human and semi-god, which we call a kind of beginning of anthropomorphic gods in Greek mythology. And we know the famous titans. The titans were Osiris, Coes, Rhea, Themis, and they were 12 in out. And apart, like in these titans, the most important titan was Kronos. Why Kronos is important, we'll get to know later in the lecture today. But Kronos stands as the most important titan, or the progeny of the earth and the sky. And then Gaia and Uranus, they also produced the one-eyed cyclope. So the one-eyed cyclopes, they are basically savage giants. And these giants are also covered in Odysseus, the myth of Odysseus. So these are one-eyed giants, the cyclopes. And then you have 100-handed hecaton Cheries. So hecaton Cheries are gigantic figures who have 100 hands, and some are even said to have 50 heads. So apart from titans, so Gaia and Uranus, like the earth and the sky, they gave birth to three species of god. First was titans. The other two are not considered as gods but as powerful creatures. So we have titans, we have cyclopes, and we have hecaton Cheries. And cyclopes and hecaton Cheries, they basically are treated as monstrous embodiments of natural forces, means like the wild side of nature, who are responsible for natural calamities like storms, the earthquakes, and all. Now, what happened in this divine marriage, that Uranus proved to be a tyrannical father. So he feared that his children might challenge his power, so he prevented them from emerging into the light by forcing them back into the Gaia's womb, this act caused an immense, you may say, the tremendous pain to Gaia. And this motive of power-hungry deity suppressing his offering, it often appears in multiple mythological traditions, and it speaks to the fundamental human anxieties about generational conflict and succession. So after this, we have the castration of Uranus, and the birth of Aphrodite. So, suffering from Uranus's cruelty, Gaia plotted revenge. So, she fashioned a flint sickle and appealed to her children for help. So, when I said that Kronos is the most important titan, why did I say that? Because all other titans refused to help their mother, Gaia, but only Kronos, the youngest of the titan, he agreed. So when Uranus descended to couple with Gaia, Kronos emerged from hiding and castrated his father with a sickle. And this severed genitals of Uranus, it fell into the sea, and myths have it that where they created these genitals, they created a white foam which is known as aphros in Greek. So this white foam is called as aphros in Greek, from which rose Aphrodite. So she became the goddess of love and beauty. And meanwhile, the blood that dripped upon Gaia produced Furies, the giants, and ash tree nymphs. So this violent episode, it marks a crucial transition in the cosmological narrative. So the castration of Uranus, it just not represent a power transfer, but a fundamental shift in cosmic governance. Like sky and earth are forever separated, creating the space in which life, as we know now, it can flourish. So it's worth noting that how these myths address the existential question of why sky and earth are separate, a question that many mythological traditions have attempted to answer, but Greek mythology has given a kind of answer. And then, following this, the birth of Aphrodite from this act of violence, it creates a fascinating paradox. What is this paradox? That beauty and desire, it emerge from conflict and mutilation. So this juxtaposition challenges simplistic moral framework and suggests that creation often involves destruction, and this theme, it reoccurred throughout Greek mythology and even in contemporary literature. So after the birth of Aphrodite and the castration of Uranus, we have the age of Titans and the Chronos' reign. So with Uranus incapacitated, and Kronos becoming the supreme deity, what Kronos did, he released his siblings from Gaia's womb, but significantly kept the Cyclops and Hecatontarius imprisoned in Tartarus. So Tartarus, if you remember, it is the abyss beneath the earth. It is the dark space. And then Kronos married his sister Rhea. Rhea was also one of the Titans, and he married Rhea, and they produced the first generation of Olympian gods. And who were these first generations? It was Hestia, it was Hera, it was Hades, it was Poseidon, it was Zeus, it was Demeter. So I remember these first generation. There could be one or two more gods, but what I remember, these are the names of the god. The important ones are obviously Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, Hera, Demeter, Hestia. So these are the first generation of Olympians, which was produced by Kronos and Rhea. But again, Kronos, haunted by his own rebellion against his father, he feared a similar fate at the hands of his children. So Uranus and Gaia had already prophesied that Kronos would be overthrown by his own offspring. So prevent this in future, Kronos swallowed each child of his as it was born. So this gruesome image of divine infanticides has inspired countless artistic representations through centuries, perhaps most famously in Francisco Goya's disturbing painting, where Saturn devouring his son. And this visceral horror of the scene, it speaks to the primordial fears of paternal authority going wrong, and the nurturing father suddenly transforms into the devouring father. So, when Zeus was about to be born, Rhea was very wary of losing her children, and she was advised by Gaia and Uranus to trick Kronos. Now, what she did, she gave birth to Zeus in Crete and presented Kronos with a stone wrapped in a swaddling cloth. So, the image which you see in a slide is that it's a representation of this act only, that Rhea has wrapped a stone into a cloth and gifting or like giving it to Cronus in place of Zeus, and which Kronos swallowed without realizing the deception. So the infant Zeus was raised in secret by nymphs and the god Amalthea, growing quickly to divine maturity. So this motive of hidden divine child appears in many mythological traditions worldwide, and it represents a kind of protective concealment of potential, which established a new paradigm which was growing unseen until it's ready to challenge the established order. And with this, we move to the next slide, which is the Titanomachy, War for Cosmic Order. So, upon reaching adulthood, Zeus plotted to overthrow his father, and with the aid of Metis, a Titanus associated with wisdom. Metis is a Titanus who is associated with wisdom. So, Zeus prepared a potion that, when administered to Cronos, forced him to vomit up the swallowed children who must be now fully grown gods. So Zeus also freed the Cyclops and Hecatontarius from Tartarus, gaining powerful allies for the coming conflict. What followed was the Titanomachy. So what is Titanomachy? It is a cosmic war between the younger gods led by Zeus and the Titans led by Cronos. So this decade-long battle, it shook the cosmos to its foundation. So the Cyclops provided Zeus with his trademark thunderbolts, while the hundred-handed giants hurled mountains at the Titans, and eventually Zeus and his siblings, they emerged victorious. So most Titans were confined to Tartarus and guarded by Hecatontarius, though some Titans who had not opposed Zeus, like Oceanus, they were spared from punishment. So this Titanomachy, it represents, you may say, more than just a divine family feud. It symbolized the transition from older cosmic order to a new one. So you can say from a primordial forces to a more organized divine hierarchy that would more directly engage with human affairs. So we might interpret this myth as a cultural memory of religious evolution, which is like an older earth-centered worship gave way to the more anthropomorphic Olympian cult. And with this, we have the establishment of Olympian order. Just a second. Yes, we have the establishment of Olympian rule, Olympian order. So, with the defeat of Titans, Zeus and his siblings, they established a new cosmic order. So, they drew lots to divine rule over different domains. Like Zeus received the sky and overall authority, Poseidon gained the seas, Hades was allotted the underworld, the earth and the mountain Olympus were considered a common ground for the gods, where earth was also given to humans to be shared with. So, what happened? Zeus solidified his position through strategic marriages and alliances. So, his first consort was Metis, the Metis who helped Zeus to beat his father, and but it was prophesied that she would bear children more powerful than their father. So what happened? Zeus, following the same paradigm, he swallowed the pregnant Metis, and ironically repeating his father's strategy. So as a result of this, from his forehead then sprang Athena. Athena, fully armed and grown, and she became the wisdom, like literally, she became the goddess of divine thought. And then Zeus, after later, Zeus subsequently married to Themis. Themis stands for order, and produced Hore. Hore stands for seasons, and Morai. Morai stands for fates. And while his union with the memory, which is known as Mnemosyne, his union with memory, it creates 9 muses. Now, his most powerful marriage was with Hera, because this marriage, it established the divine royal family. So Hera and Zeus were identified as divine royal couple, and through their relationship was like it was notoriously turbulent, uh, filled with Zeus' infidelities and Hera's vengeance, but they had very strong royal appeal and royal power over the Olympians and as well as humans. So overall, these cosmic complex divine relationship, it helped in establishing a cosmic balance, how that each deity had its own governing specific aspects of existence, and the Olympian pantheon, through hierarchical with Zeus at its head, operated more like a divine family, or you may say a council, rather than an absolute monarchy, perhaps reflecting Greeks' own political experimentation with various forms of governance. And then uh, we move to Hesiod's theogony. Like before coming to the contemporary relevance, I just want to mention briefly about Hesiod's theogony, because from where I have taken most of the content of this lecture and the subsequent lectures, that before we should consider the context of these myths with reference to Hesiod's theogony. Though, as I've already told you, that theogony was composed around 8th century BCE. It represented an attempt, Hesiod's theogony represented an attempt to synthesize diverse local traditions into a coherent narrative. So, as a didactic poem, it seeks not only to entertain but to explain the world's order and humanity's place within it. So, Hesiod was likely influenced by a near, you may say, Eastern creation myth, particularly the Babylonian myth. If I remember, the name is Enuma Elish. I'm not sure, but this is the name of Babylonian myth, Enuma Elish, which it is said that Hesiod was particularly influenced by this myth because it features similar generational conflict among words. Now, these parallels remind us that Greek mythology didn't develop in isolation, but it emerged through cultural contact and exchange across the ancient Mediterranean world. So you will find a lot of interpretations and lot of revisions, lot of, you may say, assumptions about Greek order, and the multiple interpretations, the multiple understanding. This is the hallmark of Greek mythology as well as of the Greek civilization, the Greek thought, and the Greek psyche. So there are they always express in multiple. It kinds of establish a flexible thinking order, flexible philosophical order where nothing rules in specific, but there is an accommodation and adaptability of multiple interpretations and multiple variations. And simultaneously, the theogony of Hesiod, it also served as the social and political functions. So by establishing this divine genealogies, because Hesiod was the first to establish a divine genealogy in Greek mythology, now what Hesiod did, it created a cosmic precedent for human hierarchies and inheritance patterns. So, the successful revolution of Zeus against Kronos, portrayed as justified because of Kronos' cruelty, and simultaneously legitimized and limited the authority of human rulers. So, these are the like challenges, these are like the interpretations and the meanings of Greek mythology as it was presented and interpreted by Hesiod. But then I've said that Greek mythology is always flexible and it is always adaptable. So you may find various other multiple implications as well. But this was the basic, you may say, the idea of Greek civilization. Now, as we close this lecture, I want you to consider that why these ancient creation myths, they still matter today. Because beyond their cultural and literary significance, Greek cosmologic myths, they offer, you may say, archetypal patterns that continue to appear in contemporary narratives, not just in Greek civilization, but it has influenced the entire European civilization. So you can see that modern fantasy, science fiction, they frequently draw on these parallels. Now, if we consider how Star Wars features a young hero hidden away from a tyrannical father figure, or how Marvel's Eternals explicitly incorporates Titanic figures, and then we have video games like God of War, which reimagine these cosmic conflicts for new audience. So we can say that how the science fiction, the fantasy, it is very much rooted and inspired from Greek origin, the Greek divine origin. And also, you can say psychologically, these myths provide symbolic language for fundamental human experiences. So this is not particular to Greek mythology only, it is particular to all other mythology, that we still ask that why do we study mythology? Is there any historical relevance to it? Were they even in real? So this is the reason that why still mythology matters and it continues to interest everyone, because I feel and I believe rather that these myths, they very fundamentally, they provide symbolic language for some of the undefined human experiences, like the separation from parents, the generational conflict, the tension between order and chaos, the tension between fate, destiny and action. And very interestingly, this idea is also resonated by Carl Jung, who saw in these stories universal archetypes. So Carl Jung believed that in these mythological story, you have universal archetypes, and from these universal archetypes, you have emergence of collective unconsciousness. And philosophically also, Greek cosmology raises questions that still preoccupy us. What are these questions? That how did order emerge from chaos? What is the relationship between creation and destruction? Is cosmic justice possible? And the ambiguity, the complexity of Greek myths, like their refusal to provide a simple moral answer, continue to make them fertile ground for ethical and existential exploration. And even environmentally, the Greek perception of Earth as the divine Gaia, it offers a counterpoint to mechanistic views of nature, one that resonates with contemporary ecological movements seeking to re-establish a kind of sense of connection and responsibility towards the natural world. So overall, today we have journeyed from primordial chaos to divine generations to the establishment of Olympian order, and we have seen that how Greek cosmology it portrays creation not as a deliberate act of a transcendent deity, but it is a kind of organic unfolding of reality through procreation, conflict, and reconciliation. So this is a very, very important, you may say, feature of Greek mythology, that the Greek mythology emerged organically through procreation, conflict, and reconciliation. And in our next lecture also, we'll explore that how this Olympian pantheon, we'll be exploring these pantheon in great detail, and we'll be examining that how these gods and goddesses, they embody natural forces, social values, psychological principle, and overall, we'll be looking more closely at their contemporary and cultural references and obviously modern interpretation. So with this, I end my lecture. And if you have any question, you can ask.
Participants, anybody have a question? You can unmute yourself and ask to ma'am, or you can write down in chat box also.
Uh, Hello.
Yes.
I just wanted to know that while we are dealing with the, say, genealogy of divine beings, is there any difference between the between how Homer shows it and how Hesiod shows it?
Yes, there's a lot of difference. Just reference articles and books for further reading them. Okay, at the end of on my last lecture, I'll be preparing a slide from where I have taken up the entire lecture references and notes, and I'll suggest the reference articles and book. And coming back to the question of Tanisha, she has asked that is there any difference between Hesiod and Homer? There is no difference. There's no difference. Why? Because Homer's Iliad is inspired from Hesiod. Now, what you have to understand that Hesiod has created an architecture, a literary architecture for Greek mythology, the Greek genealogy, and from that architecture, Homer has used one of the events of Trojan War and has written Iliad. So there is no difference. It is just a continuation of Greek mythology, and Homer's Iliad is inspired from this Greek genealogy as it was presented by Hesiod. So I hope I have answered your question, Tanisha. And then we have a question from ma'am. You said in the contemporary relevance that it echoes ecological concern. Yes, in my upcoming lectures, I'll be covering this ecological environmental aspect as well, that how Greek mythology is very relevant for the like ecological concerns as well. And so to say, any mythology, not just Greek mythology, we are specifically dealing with Greek mythology, but if you take up any mythology, like Hindu mythology, Islamic mythology, like Jewish mythology, you will have very significant references to environment and ecological concern, and which you will find that most of the prestigious critic of environment or the theorist of environment have referred back to those myths. Like we have very famous example of wasteland. The poem ends with da da da, and da da da, it's taken from Hindu mythology, which stands for Datta, Daya, Dham, and Damyata. So every mythology has a very significant ecological and environmental concern, not just Greek mythology. And yes, I'll be elaborating on this ecological concern in my upcoming lectures. And will the PPT be shared too? If you want, you can send in your email ID. I'll share the PPT. But the organizers have not, they for valid reasons, they have not asked for the PPT. But if you want, you can just mail your ID or something. I'll share the PPT, no problem.
Excuse me, ma'am. Yeah. Hello.
Yes,
Excuse
Shalini,
me, ma'am.
right?
Am I audible? Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah.
Can you please brief me war for cosmic order once more? Because due
War.
to some war for cosmic order. The
Yes,
slide
yes,
for the titanomachy. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just let me see if I haven't closed the PPT. I'll just go to that slide. Yes, it is here. Are you talking for this?
Yes, this one, ma'am.
Okay. So this titanomachy, it is the name of a war which describes a cosmic war between the Titans and the Olympians. Now we have to understand the Olympians are the descendant of Titans, right? But because of growing of Kronos', you may say, anarchy, and Zeus revolted against the Titans, you may say their predecessors. So they were younger gods, the children of Titans, the children of Kronos, who sided with Zeus and they fought against their predecessors. So basically it is a war between Titans and the Olympians. So Olympians represented by Zeus and Titans represented by Kronos. So Kronos and Zeus were obviously father and son. So it is a kind of paternal generational conflict. And this war becomes very significant because it shifted the dynamics of cosmic balance from the Titans to the Olympians. I hope I have made it
Yeah,
clear.
thank you so much, ma'am. Now it is clear. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Yes, ma'am. Even if you're not able to send the PPT in the mail, can I just get screenshots of it, ma'am? If you can show it from the first.
Oh, okay. I have no problem. Just a second. Let me go to my PPT. Yes. From here?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay. Any further concern? But I observe a synthesis between the stories of Kronos and Rhea with Shantanu and Ganga through the perspective is different. Yes, Ayan, he has raised a very valid question that he has found similarities between the Greek mythology and, so to say, the Hindu mythology. And you would not believe that this is not just one of the, you may say, striking resemblance, but you will see there is innumerable relevance, and similarities in the Greek and the Hindu mythology. So you will have almost all the versions of Greek gods in Hindu mythology as well. And if somebody of you have been ever to Delhi, you can see there's this National Gallery of Modern Art, Nagma. So there you will find a painting of Greek civilization of 4th century BC and Indian civilization 4th century BC, and there is striking similarities in the civilization, in the you may say the livelihood, the living manner. So this is undoubtedly true that there is a striking similarities in the Greek and the Hindu mythology, and it was right. So any other question?
Uh, Good afternoon, Vania ma'am. I think it's morning
Yes.
still. Actually, the purpose of joining this class or this course was that because being a teacher of English literature for almost now 18 years, what I feel at times, because when there comes references to Greek mythology, though I at times get stuck. With today's lecture was really very informative. I hope that as we proceed with the lecture further, so my doubts, so many doubts which are there,
Sure.
so they may be erased away. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, means a lot. So I think Janki ma'am, we are done with the lecture. I don't think so there are any more questions.
Ma'am, there is a question in chat box. It was mentioned that we will be having homework. What
Achha,
is
yes,
homework
yes.
program?
I'll share. I'll see in your see, homework, it was meant for your own personal exercise. So if you have this brochure with the details of the course detail, there is mentioned what task you have to do at home in order to just have a more advanced understanding and you may say the command over Greek literature. So in your brochure, the homework would be mentioned. So the brochure is divided into the lecture topic and the activity. So the activity is your homework. Thank you all for your wonderful comments. I hope you will be joining for the further lectures as well.